Días de Vino y Radio, un programa presentado por Gabriel Ruiz Lopez para todos los amantes del vino, agricultores, enólogos, sommeliers, bodegueros, comerciantes, restauradores, periodistas, conectando directamente desde Barcelona, España.
Thank you, Patricia. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the place you are on this planet. Well, today we are going to make our first program in France. And for this, I have a special guest who is a good friend, is Amaury de Sinçay from the Maison de Sade. We are going to visit several regions of France, but mainly Côtes du Rhone, Rhone Valley. Okay, so bonjour Amaury, comment ça va?
Bonjour Gabi, ça va très bien et toi?
Ah, pas mal, mais bon, normalement le programme se fait à la langue de l'hôte, mais aujourd'hui, je pense que pour notre audience, il vaudrait mieux parler en anglais si ça te fait rien.
Pas de problème, on peut le faire en catalan.
Bueno, lo podemos hacer en español, o en ᴅÍ쏘귲 putonghua.
Let's do it in English, no problem for that, Gabi.
Yeah, it's better to do it in English, right? Okay, so I made a short introduction of you, that you belong to the family owner of Maison de Sade. And we are going to visit several places in France. But first of all, I would like you to introduce yourself and to explain us your arrival to the wine world and your trajectory since then.
Sure, of course. Well, I'm from a French family with roots mainly in Rhone Valley and also in Burgundy. I grew up in Paris, and most of my family is in the wine business, in the wine and spirit industry. I have family in different regions of France, just to name a few: Southwest, Armagnac, Champagne, Loire, and also Bordeaux. But my main focus is still on Rhone Valley and Rhone Valley wine, because we have the domain there, and the family is originally from Luberon, the south part of Rhone Valley. And we have a winery with around 30 hectares of vineyard there, in small cities like, if you have been there, like Mazan or Lacoste, Ventoux, Luberon, different areas, like 20, 30 kilometers away. And but first of all, I'm very passionate about wine. So my main reason to live today is because of wine and food. And I'm super happy to work in the wine industry. It's a big chance that I can do what I like. It's a passion I have since I'm a kid. Of course, I had like a family in the wine industry. So since I'm a child, I always heard about wine around me. And for me, it was quite natural to go to this industry. So to explain you a little bit how I grew up, let's say, in the wine world. When I was young, I was already doing some kind of internship during the holiday in the winery, doing the harvest during summer. And when I grew up, like 17, 18 years old, I started to follow the winemaker to get the passion, for the wine, and start to know about the process, vinification process, etc. So I kind of studied it during my free time, my holidays, and I did like some kind of internship in Bordeaux as well, not only Rhone Valley. And after that, I had to study at some points to learn about business. So I went to Canada and the US for a few years and to have like my master. And then I did master in business for like studying also English, Spanish, different language, which is of course helping today a lot. And then after my studies, I went back to France, and I had some nice experience in a company exporting some goods in Africa, and then Middle East and South America. So I traveled quite a lot for a few years. And after this very nice experience, I went back to the family business, to Maison de Sade, and I start to export, to be in charge of exporting the goods, the wines. and I focused quite a lot into Asia, especially Japan, China, which were two big markets for us. And so I started that in 2008. And then after that, we decided to set up an office in China. So it was quite a big adventure for us to discover like a new country. China was at the time, well, you know very well, Gabi, you've been there so many times, quite starting to open, and the wine business was growing very quickly. So I think it was a good opportunity for us, for our company, for our brand, to have an office there. So we started in 2012 to settle an office, and then since then we still have office in China. And well, after that I start to have more opportunities of business because of this. And so customers, our clients, were starting to ask for different wines, not just Rhone Valley wines. So we started to do like some like negotiation activity, wine merchant activity, and bottling activity with other regions than the Rhone Valley. So, but I like to summarize our activity today with like a three words. We are today a sustainable winemaker. We are innovative wine bottler, and we have a creative wine merchant. This is a bit how I want to summarize like our business today. One side, we have our winery with very, you know, boutique winery oriented with Rhone Valley wines, high quality wines. And in the other side, we have another business that we developed since around 10 years, which is like more for having a wider range of wine with to catch more public and more customers, with a wider selection of wines from all over France. So this is a bit my background about it.
There is a big demand in China of different kind and styles of wine from France. You have already the 50% of the market, so it's not bad. Yeah, that's good. And going to the history of Maison de Sade to have the whole picture of what your company is, because now is FSP, but French spirits, but the roots are from Maison de Sade. So can you explain a little bit the history?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, Maison de Sade refers to, of course, Marquis de Sade, which is, let's say, the image of the company and the family. But Maison de Sade, we have two ways. We have Maison de Sade, which is a historical part of Rhone Valley, and which is related to the history of the family. And the maison refers to the house, and in this ancient time, house means a lot of things. So our origin is from Rhone. We have some written proof of the origin of our vineyards from the family since like 1780s, so more than 200 years. Like the Diva Marquis, the most famous, let's say, in the family, who lived in between 1740 and 1814, was already asking in the books and in the letters when he was in jail. He was asking for his wine from Châteauneuf-du-Pape, which was one of his favorite, and from his wine from Champagne. So we have some roots, let's say historical roots from Rhone Valley. And way after that, around in the 1950s, the Maison de Sade company has been created. Maison de Sade company refers to, let's say, what is the Marquis de Sade today. Not only wine, but also something related to gastronomy and to the art of living. So this is Xavier de Sade, which was the Comte de Sade, 5 generations after the Marquis, that created Maison de Sade. And at the beginning, in the 1950s, was Rhone Valley wine, mainly Ventoux, to Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and a little bit of Champagne. Okay, so this is let's say, the origin of the new Maison de Sade. But the origin of the Maison de Sade is Rhone Valley since like the 12th, 13th century. Okay, so if you want me to explain you a little bit more about the origins, we have some writtens, also notice about family, the Sade family from the 1100. At that time, we had like some big partnership with a local, let's say, government in Avignon city, and the family also participate to build the famous bridge of Avignon. So everybody heard about the bridge of Avignon. It's famous for the song sur le pont d'Avignon.
Yeah.
And in the
I studied in the school. I studied in the school in my French lesson.
We participated to build it. At the
Mm.
beginning, it was related to commerce because it was the first big bridge between Lyon and the Mediterranean. So it was a very important pass for the commerce. And in the pillar, in the central pillar of the bridge, you have the coat of arms of the family. Okay, so we always been very related to the Rhone, let's say, activity, the Rhone Valley activity, Avignon activity. Another example, very good example of the historical facts. In the 1450s, around 1450s, the Pope Clement V offered to the family the Chateau of Sauman. Chateau of Sauman was part of the family until the 18th century. Okay, almost the revolution. So this is one of the long history of the origin of the family in Rhone Valley.
Yeah. But you had also wines in Champagne and Bordeaux at that time.
Yeah.
Bordeaux, sorry.
Bourgogne. Yeah, after the French Revolution, we had the different chateaux, different castles in Rhone Valley, and most of them were lost after the revolution. So the family went from Rhone Valley to Champagne, and then they settled in the Château de Condé in Champagne. There were a huge estate of around 2,000 hectares, mixed of vineyard and mixed of agricultural land and also forest. Okay, and the family owned that chateau until 1982. It was sold, unfortunately, in 1982. Complicated to maintain all this, but yeah, during 150 years or more, we were living in Champagne.
Mm-hmm. And Burgundy as well. There are some roots of the
Well, Burgundy is from the other side, from the Sinçay side, and it was the origin also of the part of the family. And yeah, we are very related to Burgundy and Rhone. I mean, this is the two, when we go back to 300, 400 years ago, we were there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but well, today I would like to focus more in Côtes du Rhone, Rhone Valley,
Sure.
because it's one of the three main wines, flagships of French wines in the world, together with Burgundy and Bordeaux. Côtes du Rhone took a very good place among them because for many years it was just two of them in the top, but nowadays I think Côtes du Rhone has a very good name too, right?
Côtes du Rhone is very big. I think the most important period of time for the Valley du Rhone, the Rhone Valley, was during the first Pope, when the first Pope arrived in Avignon and stayed and settled down in Avignon. And from this time, Châteauneuf-du-Pape became the huge icon and helped to increase all the reputation of the Rhone Valley wine, because the Pope were offering to the different important kings or the different governors of different countries some Châteauneuf-du-Pape, which was produced for them. So it was kind of one of the top quality wines at this period of time in France. Yeah, and the history of the vineyard in Rhone Valley is from the Roman time, so much before Jesus Christ, when the Roman brought all the vines to the Mediterranean, and it went up to Lyon, and then after that spread out all over France.
Yeah, that's true. It's a long history we have in the Mediterranean through the Romans. And well, let's learn about Côtes du Rhone. How many appellations are under Côtes du Rhone name?
Well, I think we count around 31 appellations in Côtes du Rhone with different categories. And under the 31, you have some subcategories. Mainly, you have the Vallée du Rhône, which is Rhone Valley appellations. You have like around 11. We have in this category some sparkling, like Crémant de Die or Clairette de Die, Clairette de Bellegarde. And you have some big appellation like Luberon or Ventoux. And then comes the Côtes du Rhône appellation, Côtes du Rhône AOP, which is also a very wide wine with red and white. Then you have the Côtes du Rhône Village, which is considered to be up, like better terroir, better vineyards. And under this Côtes du Rhone village, you have a lot of village names. So you have like 21 different villages, and each of these village can be associated like Côtes du Rhone village, and the name of the village on the label, you're going to see Côtes du Rhone village plus the name. For example, Gadagne, Sablé, Séguré, Rochegude, Plan de Dieu, you have plenty. And then
So it's
up to that,
it's
you have
similar
the
to the Burgundy system, no?
it's a bit different than Burgundy because we don't have like the Premier Cru or Grand Cru system. But we have a cru. We have 16 different cru. Most famous being Châteauneuf-du-Pape, as we just mentioned before, or Gigondas, Vaqueras, and in the north of Rhone Valley, we have Côte-Rôtie, Hermitage, Condrieu, which are super famous as well. And also in Rhone Valley, you have like two different areas. You have the north part and the south part with very different terroir, very different climate, different landscape. Okay, and a subcategory also.
This is what I wanted to get afterwards. Yeah, because it's quite interesting.
The subcategory also for the appellations, you have the sweet wine. You have two different village producing sweet wine, which are Rasto and Baume de Venise, just to mention it. Yeah, so it's quite complicated.
Yeah.
For giving you a few big numbers of the Rhone Valley, I think today we have the second or third biggest producer of wine in France. Loire and Bordeaux being probably the biggest. And it's mainly red wine. I would say 75% is red wine, maybe 10% of whites, and around 15% of rosé, which is more and more trendy. And to give you also some good tips for north and the south of Rhone Valley, big vintage are 2015. So I highly recommend to try some 2015 if you have the opportunity. And 1990, which is different from other regions of France. These are
these figures of 75, 10, and 15% are for the general.
All the appellation.
Okay.
All together, yeah.
So very, very small quantity of white, right?
Very small quantity of whites. Producing mainly red wines and more rosé because of the demand and the local market. A lot of people go for holiday in Rhone Valley and they buy locally the wine. It's increasing a lot, like influencing also the way we do the wine in terms of choice of color. Provence experienced the same in the last 10 years. So yeah, there's a big boom in rosé wine.
And then these differences of climate, soil, and landscape. Can you a little bit describe the three main sub-regions?
Sure. The north of Rhone Valley is mainly some very sharp, like kind of terrace cultivation. You have like some very, very difficult to cultivate. You cannot enter with a tractor, and it's very, very steep. And the south of Rhone Valley the landscape is different. It's some hills, but some plain as well. And it's more like garrigue style, let's say mixed of lavender. You have the pine trees mixed together with truffle oak trees or the green oak trees. So it's a totally different landscape. And also the climate is very different. The south is more Mediterranean style, more warm during summer. The north is more like continental to, I would say, a temperated climate. Okay. And the soil also is quite different. North being more, let's say, limestone, clay mixed with like granitic and stony soil, while the south is more like sandstone, limestone, alluvian, clay, with some typical thing, which is typical from south of Rhone Valley, is the big pebbles, the big galets roulés, what we call galets roulés, the big stones.
Rolling stones.
And those have a very important job in the wine viticulture process in south of Rhone Valley, because during the very warm days, the heat can accumulate in the stones during the sunny days of summer. And at night, when the temperature goes down 15-20 degrees, the heat absorbed in the stone is released to the wine and avoids a lot of rot, a lot of moisture in the vine. So it gives a very healthy and organic atmosphere. So I would say most of sauce Rhone Valley is kind of organic, naturally organic. And you have another factor which is very important, which is the wind. We have strong winds from the sea, very dry, and this also gives a very healthy. It's very healthy for the vine because it dries it out. So after a big rain, you don't have too much rot, too much risk of mushrooms, and you don't have to put too much fungicide or too much treatments. So this is a big advantage we share with also Provence and south of France, Mediterranean side.
And for example, from the northern point to the southern point, how many kilometers there are?
No, I would say at least 300. From Lyon to the north part is Lyon to Valence, Lyon to Montélimar. Lyon to Montélimar, let's say, is the north side. And then the south is almost until Provence. So south of Luberon being the southest part. Yeah. So it's around 300 kilometers.
Yeah, that's why the difference of climate, this is clear.
Yeah. To give you an idea, I think like Côte-Rôtie, ᴅÍᴜ, or ᴠɪᴏ to Châteauneuf-du-Pape is around already 150 kilometers. So it's quite long.
Quite a lot. Yeah. So mainly, I suppose there are small producers over there and kind of boutique wineries more than big ones, or there are also big.
In North Rhone Valley, small boutique wineries, small producers. It's very costly to walk the lands because of the big the style actually. In south we have some bigger producers because it's not as confidential and it's not as complicated to cultivate. But yeah, they have some boutique wineries and some kind of let's say very exclusive wineries, and we have very high quality wines in Rhone Valley in different areas, north and south, of course.
Because the way of planting is more like in a vase or wired to be able to harvest by machine. This is most
no.
no?
In North Rhone Valley, it's impossible to harvest by machine. A machine cannot enter. Most of the Côte-Rôtie, or you take Côte-Rôtie, ᴠɪᴏ, or Hermitage, it's not possible to enter with machine. So it's mainly hand picked, and all the work is handmade. In South Rhone Valley, you have some parts, but it's mainly the Vallée du Rhône appellations which are probably machine picked. But when you go to the village and when you go to the cru, it's all handmade, hand picked, and the work is everything by hand.
So after speaking about the Côtes du Rhone in general, let's go into Maison de Sade and explain us a little bit these hectares you have, which kind of grapes you have there, and where they are based, so on.
Yeah, sure. The let's say the oldest vineyards are in the area of Ventoux and Luberon, around the villages I just mentioned at the beginning, which are Maison and until Venasque and Soman in the north side in Ventoux, EOP, and in south around Ménherbe and Lacoste, so close to the really south part of Luberon, so part of Rhone Valley. Today we have around 30 hectares and we produce around 200,000 bottles in a total, mainly red, and the grape being for the red Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre, the most common one. And we also have a little bit of Carignan, a little bit of Cinsault. And for the whites, Grenache white, mainly, Marsanne, Roussanne, and a bit of Viognier.
For me, it's curious that from the reds you mentioned, you have Grenache, Mourvèdre, et Carignan, they are origin from Spain, right?
Yes, but some of the grapes are originated from Spain, but we have plenty also of local grapes which are not too famous,
Mhm.
like Counoise or Picpoul, Terre Noir,
Yeah,
or Muscardin, some special kind of grapes.
yeah. It caught my attention. The three vine grapes, because it means that there has been an exchange
Exactly.
in between Spain and France in a certain point. Do you have any idea when it happened?
Yeah, we believe that most of the grape have been brought by Phoenicians and Italians, and for sure they settled down all around the Mediterranean. So in Spain, in Catalogne until Valencia, and in south of France, in all the Roussillon, the Languedoc, and Provence, and in Italy, obviously. Then they brought probably the grape from Middle East or from Georgia for some, or from the Mediterranean Sea to France and to Spain. And but I guess also we have like some different grapes which are the result of some clone, some mix of grapes. Like for example, in the Syrah. The Syrah is mainly a result of a clonage, of a mix of different grapes. Well, in the years it evolved a lot, but I believe that Garnacha, of course, takes place in Spain and is growing very well there. But also in Rhone Valley, it's a very successful Grenache, Grenache Noir, and Syrah. I would say is the two main big grapes in Rhone Valley that are evolving very well in this terroir.
Yeah. They give very good wines there. Really good. And talking about this, we mentioned before about the difference of climate north and south. I suppose that also the character of the wines will be quite different. I mean, maybe more mineral and strong in the north, and more balsamic in the south. Or can you describe them?
Sure, it's very different. The main big difference I would say between north and south is the monocepage. So the monovarietal in north is very common, like Côte Rôtie, 100% Syrah. Sometimes a little bit blend with a little bit of Viognier to give some something special, some aromatic, but mainly 100% Syrah. Saint-Joseph, same Hermitage, Gros Hermitage. And for Condrieu, 100% Viognier. It's quite rare. South of Rhone Valley, we have blends, almost all the time blends, until 13 kind of grapes in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Can you imagine 13 kinds of grape blended in one wine? It's very surprising. It's very unique. But the most common still is a famous GSM, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre, which we find, which is like the more, let's say, traditional way of blending. But each winemaker, each wine producer has his own style, and also do with what he has available in the vineyard. In a vineyard like Châteauneuf-du-Pape, which costs a lot of money per hectare, of course, you do with what you have. If you have a Grenache mainly, then you're going to do a wine with Grenache. And it's very special about the Rhone, and I like that. And to go back to the typicity of the wines, I would say that in the north, the wine are very elegant, very subtle. Syrah is one of my favorite grape. I mean, this can give someone with very good aging, very long aging, very strong, powerful, with some black pepper and the spice flavor, leather flavor, which are really nice. The Viognier, 100% Viognier, so is one of my favorite. It's very interesting grape. You have some super complex aromas. It's very aromatic. You have some fruits and floral nuts like apricots, peach, etc., hazelnut, which are really interesting in Viognier. And in the south, we usually blend Grenache white for the white wine, Grenache white, Marsanne, Roussanne, which gives some like probably more minerality, I would say, but also some more like fruity and long-lasting potential in the south of Rhone Valley, which is also given by the pebble and stony kind of soil. It provides like to the vines and to the wine some potential of aging, okay, such as the acidity, which is very important to balance, to have some wines with very good potential of aging. And for the reds, GSM blends also provide some I would compare it to the Bordeaux, Merlot, and Cabernet Sauvignon. Each of the grape provide to the wine something important. The Cabernet Sauvignon in Bordeaux gives a structure. Well, I would say the Grenache gives the kind of structure in the wine of Rhone Valley, and the Merlot, the fruitiness and the silkiness. I would say that Syrah is kind of the Merlot of the Rhone Valley. So we found the balance in the sauce of Rhone wines in order to have like some long potential aging wines. We have really some amazing Châteauneuf du Pape that can be aged like 30, 50 years and have very nice aromas. And we find the balance, acidity, fruitiness, and sweetness and everything. So to make some great wines.
I see. This is for general Côtes du Rhone. And then talking about Maison de Sade, can you describe a little bit each of the ranges you produce, or the main ones at least?
Of course. Well, one of our big sellers and best sellers is Ventoux, Ventoux AOP. Ventoux is special because it's a mountain. Everybody knows the Tour de France, the bicycle. It goes in Ventoux, usually. And this is a big mountain, famous for that. It goes up to, I think, 1,700 meters, but the vineyard is not up to that. The vineyard is usually 300 to 600 meters high. So it gives some freshness, something a little bit aérien, I would say, in French, which is different from the Luberon. I like to compare the two because it's not far away, but the terroir is so different that we have some typicity in the two wines, which are really amazing. Ventoux is more like aérien. The degree of alcohol is like maybe 14.5, while Luberon is like maybe 150 to 300 meters high. South of Rhone Valley, maybe 50 kilometers from Ventoux, but much stronger aromas, much higher in alcohol, can be 15.5 to 16 degree alcohol, very colorful and very full-bodied, very, very powerful wines. While Ventoux is more subtle, I would say, more like a mountain style of wine. I think in Spain you have this kind of difference also. With just a few kilometers, you can find some very different style of wines.
Good. So, one by one, you can explain more or less.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We also have Saint-Joseph, which is 100% Syrah, as I said before.
That's amazing.
Sorry?
It's amazing, Syrah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. And it's cultivated in very steep hillside, like a kind of terrace. So everything is handmade, handpicked. We do an aging for this wine around 12 to 14 months in French oak barrel with few new oak barrel. It's a very interesting spice and black pepper aromas. I like it because it's very elegant. We can age it for very long. And another one, which is one of my favorite, of course, Châteauneuf du Pape, specific terroir. We have like some red clay, very thick soil, and mixed with calcareous and sandy soil, and of course the typical pebble stones, as we said before. And in this special vineyard, we have like around 70% of Grenache mixed with 20% Syrah, a little bit of Mourvèdre, a little bit of Cinsault, and we age it in typical very big oak barrel, which we call foudre in French. It can be from 500 liters to several thousands liters, and those food we can keep until 100 years old. So it's very old food, old big oak barrel, and we age the wine there during around 18 months. So we believe that the aging should be longer for Châteauneuf du Pape to have like a more subtle tannins. And the aromas are amazing: red fruit, pepper, truffle nuts. Very structured and elegant wine, super powerful, and with very good potential of aging. Yeah, this is one of, let's say, the top wines of our selection.
Well, in fact, here in Spain, it's a kind of fashion also to use the foudre, because the micro-oxygenation is different for the wines in big quantities, no? And
absolutely, and you have few contact with oak, so few flavor oak. We don't want to have like a very oaky wines. We want something subtle. We just want the oak to give some structure, give some elegant tannin to the wine. We don't want to age the wine in oak barrel to give some very powerful toasty notes. It's not the print. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
quite
this is the point. The wood has not to be the protagonist. The protagonist is the grape.
absolutely,
No, it's the fruit
absolutely.
itself. No,
Yeah.
so it's a way, and that's why it's also becoming a little fashion here. Even that also we are coming back to the beton, to the cement for fermentation and so on. So many old techniques are coming back for the future. So
Yeah, it's very interesting. We're also doing some kind of tries with cement or with amphor. The amphor can give us also some different things to the wine. So it's very good to try some old traditional way of aging the wine. And if our ancestors use it, it's for a reason. I mean, they did it for some very good reasons. So we have to explore that, I guess.
Yeah, I see. And how it works in Maison de Sade with your winemakers? How's the structure of the?
Well, we have one winemaker and an enologist working with us, and we also have like some external advisor for each cuvée. So every year the vintage is different with some typicities. So we try our best to have like an identity and keep this identity. But of course, each vintage bringing something special. Each vintage has to be special. So we try to integrate our identity plus the vintage identity and to release some wines which correspond to the terroir, correspond to the year it were produced. And so we work, of course, with some advisor as well. And after that, we also always blend and do the vinification together in family. We do try the wines together, and from the vinification after the harvest until we release the wine, we try it a lot of times. Normally, almost every week for the winemaker and the oenologist, and for us as much as we can. So we can release some product we really believe it's corresponding to the terroir.
Mm-hmm. And can you describe as well the white and the rosé, even if it's low production? Because I think the whites are very interesting, no?
Yeah, the whites, as we said before, there's Condrieu, which is very special, 100% Viognier, but the main rule for Rhone Valley in north is Marsanne and Roussanne blended together, sometimes a little bit of Viognier, and for south is more Grenache white, blend with Marsanne, Roussanne. You have some Viognier, which gives some aromatic, and you can find some other grapes like smaller, like Clairette, for example, or some very local grape. For us, we produce Côtes du Rhone white, which is Grenache white, Marsanne and Roussanne blend. We don't use any oak. We do 2 to 3 months aging only with a kind of batonnage or remontage.
How many months?
Sorry? 2 to 3 months. 2 to 3 months during the aging only. So it has a very floral and a lot of aromas, very fruity, and quite a lot of aromatic. This is a wine that has a very good balanced acidity and can be perfect match with some actually Spanish tapas, Spanish gambas or paella.
Well, yeah, with the gambas, everything is possible.
Well, a lot of options. Yeah, this is one option. And then we also produce a Ventoux white, which is a bit more special. We have Grenache white, Clairette, and Viognier together. So it's super aromatic with some floral notes like iris or acacia. Also have some honey smell, and some peach, citrus, apricot. All this is given by the Viognier, which is very aromatic, as we mentioned before. And we have some mango, pineapple aromas with aging. So it's a wine fresh, good for, I would say, appetizer or seafood, or even with a blanquette de veau, veal blanquette or white meat. It's really nice.
Okay. And what's the average life for the whites?
The average?
Life. I mean, French whites have a longer life, I think, than other places, right?
Yeah, for the Côtes du Rhone white or the Ventoux white can be kept for 3 to 5 years, but we like to produce today some wines ready to drink for the whites. I think it's good to drink it within 5 years is perfect because we are looking for some fruitiness, some freshness. So it's not like the same target as when we produce a Saint Joseph or a Châteauneuf du Pape, where we expect it to be aged for at least 5-10 years minimum, and you can keep it for a long time. This is not the same here. We release some wine fresh and ready to drink.
And the rosé, you mentioned that there is a demand in the market. I could see that in Central Europe, Germany, so on.
There is more and more demand. The internal demand in France boomed, and also we had like the US, which
US,
was demanding it. And after that, a lot of countries followed the trend, let's say. So the trend today for the rosé is as light as possible, very aromatic, I would say, very, very fruity, quite simple, ready to drink, of course, something you have to drink young. And this is one style. And in the other hand, you have another style of rosé, which are more gastronomic for eating, during a meal, like a white wine or a red wine. This is less trendy, but we also love it. I mean, this kind of rosé.
But they are not traditional, no? It's just a trend, or they exist already?
They exist already. I mean, the gastronomic rosé is it's more traditional. And trends have also make the rosé style evolved a lot to be more like light and light in color, and also would say light in flavor. So can you imagine Provence before was producing Mourvèdre, Monastrell, Mourvèdre, mainly with some very tough and very tannic red wine. You have to age it at least 18 months in food or in big oak barrels to have some subtle tannins. Today, all those wines, all those grapes are used to produce, or most of it, to produce some rosé, very light color and very aromatic. So it's a big difference of trends since 10, 15 years, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's a worldwide trend on this, because also in Spain we used to produce darker rosés, and now almost all the wineries are producing also the light color. It's
Provence style.
Yeah, it's the influence of Provence in all over the world, I think. People find this delicate color like more attracting, and
but I hope we will not go into a standardization of the wine making, because it's a bit pity. I like to say, like, the terroir, each terroir has its own identity, and each vintage has its own identity. So we must try to defend that and protect and preserve this typicity for every region, every wine producing region. So let's hope that
there is the conflict in between producing wines and selling it, because it is due to just commercial reasons, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to sell what we produce.
Actually, you have the reality. You have to match with the reality of the business, sure.
Yeah, this is the point, and then it's difficult sometimes to maintain the character of the area if the area produce very tough wines, and the tough wines are not in fashion at the moment, in trend. So it's what forces the companies to change also the policy of producing these rosés. With the white and the red, we have no problem, because there was a problem also, no? That in the beginning of the 2000s, most of the people started to produce very, very hard wines, very full body with a lot of wood,
Parkerization of the winemaking.
Also, standard.
You have to influence the way to do the wine in Châteauneuf du Pape. Before, the traditional way was the food, the big oak barrels with very, very light oak influence on the wine. And with Parker, people started to put the wines in oak barrel, new French oak barrel, or even American oak, which was crazy. But this is something that I guess, in my mind, we should avoid. Each one should keep his identity. If you like to do some wine with oaky flavor, okay, that's good. So why you do it? You explain the way, why, what is the reason, and maybe some wines need some aging in oak or new oak. I perfectly understand that. but don't influence the whole way of an area to make the wine just because of a trend focused on selling on one market or getting some points. It's not really acceptable.
Yeah, but happily we have came back to the normal way, and this has been just a fashion, and now everybody is getting back to the traditional styles of each region. Happily,
Which is good.
Yeah. Well, and after this trip to Côtes du Rhone, I wouldn't like to leave the program without talking about champagne too a little bit, just because I know it's important in your family, and explain us a little bit about the champagne production.
Well, Champagne is also very complex. Like Rhone Valley, you have a lot of appellations, different regions, different place where each grape evolves good, different way, like Côte des Blancs for the Chardonnay, etc. And we have a very strong, of course, relationship with Champagne because of the history of the family. As we said before, since the French Revolution until the 1980s, we were living in Condé-en-Brie, so the family has settled in Champagne for almost 2 centuries. The production of Champagne before, we had the estates with few hectares of Champagne under the appellation of origin, which was actually rented out and exploited by some farmers. The grape was sold to some like the typical Champagne way, sold to some big producer, and the producers were making different cuvées. It's what we find mostly everywhere in Champagne. So this kind of a cooperative organization. So you have a lot of small wine growers who give the grape to winemaker, let's say, and the winemaker is going to make some cuvée with a style which should be similar every year, whatever the vintage. Okay, so for the winemaking of Champagne, I think everybody knows it's of course second fermentation into the bottle. You have a minimum aging 15 to 18 months, and you have a lot of rules to follow. Every brand has to be registered. It's very controlled by the Champagne organization. And for us, we have a culture of Champagne. Well, we do that since around 80 years, since the 1940s, 1950s. We have some Champagne Blanc de Blanc, so Chardonnay. We had also some Champagne Grand Cru, and some Champagne more entry level. Today we are selling and exporting mainly 3 champagnes worldwide, which are one which is made of 80% of Pinot Noir and 20% of Chardonnay, with 2 years aging, and 2 more complex with 5 years aging. First one with the 3 different grapes, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and Chardonnay, 33% each. And the second one, which is a rosé with Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. So this is more, let's say, representative of our range. And then we have some more high class of champagne like Grand Cru or Premier Cru and Blanc de Blanc, which is a much smaller production. So we are selling the champagne in plenty of countries. Champagne in the USA, for example, we just get ready for one of our champagne 89.1 enthusiasts, so we're quite glad about that. And we're selling in Japan, Russia, China, Korea, some countries in South America, Brazil, and all over Europe. So yeah, that's a little bit the idea.
And how many hectares do you have there?
Well, today still 5 hectares of champagne, but as I said before, everything is collected and sent directly to the wine maker, to a kind of cave cooperative. So we are collecting and providing the grape there, and then it is blended and assembled directly for our cuvée.
So you own 5 hectares in Champagne, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And which other region the Maison de Sade is producing wines? Not in FSP, but like a Maison de Sade.
Yeah, Maison de Sade also is settled in the Loire Valley, but very small production of Bourgogne red, so which is Cabernet Franc, because the family moved also since the 1980s to Loire Valley, part of the family. So yeah, we have a small production of Bourgogne wines today.
Good. So this is always related to the Marquis, famous writer.
The brand name for the Bourgogne is Divine Justine, which is related to the writer, but which is most related to the famous book Justine ou les malheurs de la vertu. So the infortune of the virtue. Justine was one of the most famous book, I would say, of Sade. And so that's why you had like Justine and Juliette, two sisters, the good and the bad. And well, a lot of things happen in the books. And we wanted to release like something really related to the books and the history. And Justine is let's say the very feminine and very let's say the nice sister in the two between Justine and Juliette. Maybe we do something with a Juliette a bit more naughty in the future.
Okay. Well, time flies, and I always reserve a couple of questions for the guest for the end. One would be, which is your favorite grape?
Well, this is a hard question because
I know.
plenty of grape I like.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose a favorite red, it would be Serie, definitely. For a lot of reasons, it's very elegant, it's powerful. You have some super high class wines with great potential of aging. I love the aromas of spiciness and pepper, the black pepper, even Sichuan pepper, the small hint of leather aromas in the Syrah. And one of my second favorite in terms of red would be Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir, for a lot of reasons, I really like Burgundy wines. I think they are very, very elegant, very subtle, very sophisticated. And it's super hard to produce Pinot Noir and to vinificate and to have to make some great wines based on Pinot Noir. So I have a lot of admiration for Burgundy winemakers. And for white, well, Viognier, I really like it. I really like it because of the white, I would say, range of aromas you can find. Combination between like perfume, full-bodied, fruitiness, flower, and you have like some also some perfume like musk, honeysuckle, I would say apricot, peach. It's super complex, and you have some very good wines for aging as well. Very good potential of aging for the Viognier.
And sometimes even you blend a small percentage of Viognier with the reds, right?
Absolutely, you can do that in Rhone Valley. Yeah, in Hermitage you can blend a little bit with even Marsanne or Roussanne, and in Côte-Rôtie, effectively, you can put a little bit of Viognier to give some aromatic in the wine. Yeah, that's why we always say Côte-Rôtie is more feminine style than Hermitage in terms of tasting for the red. Yeah, because some people traditionally used to blend a little bit of Viognier with the Côte-Rôtie, with the Syrah.
Okay. Good. And the last one is a question to match wine with a song. Which wine you will drink? Listening which song? Is it radio and wine are matched? So music and wine.
I would definitely put a love song with a champagne Marquis de Sade, of course. And I'm thinking about like Michel Sardou with a song Je vais t'aimer, where he mentioned about Marquis de Sade at the beginning. And it's a mix, let's say, of you have like in this song a little bit of travel in history, and I think would be a good match with the Champagne Marquis de Sade for love song and travel in history and in time with a beautiful singer like Michel Sardou.
Okay, very good. With this song, we will close the program today. And
nice.
Well, I want to thank you for your time, and more at this time that you are very busy closing the year.
Thank you so much, Jerry. It's a pleasure to share about wine, to share about culture, history, everything, our experience. And I'm very happy to have this talk today with you.
Yeah.
And welcome in France anytime. And I hope we can have a good bottle of wine soon.
This is the good point, to have a bottle of wine together. It's better than in the screen.
It would be a good sign for all of us in this complicated time. And let's be optimistic and think that it's going to be very soon.
Of course, it will be. It will be next year. Okay, Amaury, thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Well, my friends, this was all with Amaury de Sinçay from France. And well, as I always say, enjoy, be happy, and drink good wine. See you next week. Good weekend. Ciao.